In the last video, 10 pieces of hardware proved they could finally speak the same language. This is what happens when an entire home actually joins that conversation. Every automation in a truly smart home starts with the same basic question: is someone actually here? Most systems still guess badly, relying on motion sensors that go blind the moment a person sits still, or apps that need to be told manually when someone's arrived or left. The Meross MS605 solves that quietly, combining MM-wave radar with a passive infrared sensor and ambient light detection to sense genuine human presence, not just movement, the moment someone enters a room. Because it's Matter native, that single signal doesn't stay locked in one app. It becomes the trigger every other device in this walkthrough can respond to. Nothing else on this list does anything intelligent without this happening first. Starting from $36, it's the quiet starting point everything else in this home depends on. Once a room knows someone's actually in it, the next question is what that room can immediately offer them. The simplest expression of a room responding to a person is something plugged in, switching on the moment it's needed, and off the moment it isn't. Eve Energy makes that immediate, connecting natively over Thread with no separate hub or bridge required. Visible instantly to Apple Home, Google Home, Alexa, and Home Assistant at once. Paired with the presence sensor already covering the room, whatever's plugged into it, a lamp, a fan, a coffee machine, can now respond automatically the moment someone actually needs it, rather than waiting to be told. It also tracks real-time energy use for that specific outlet, turning something as ordinary as a wall socket into a small, continuous source of insight about how the home actually runs. It's a small object, but it's the first proof in this walkthrough that presence and power can finally talk to each other, instead of operating as two separate systems in the same room. At $39, with power responding automatically, the next layer is control that doesn't require touching a single switch. Wall switches are usually the one part of a smart home that never actually became smart, still requiring a hand to physically flip them, regardless of how connected everything around them has become. The Inovelli White series changes that. A Matter-certified dimmer built specifically to work in homes without a neutral wire, meaning it can replace almost any existing switch without an electrician. Paired with a presence sensor already active in the room, it can dim, brighten, or switch off based on whether anyone's actually there, while still working as a manual switch for anyone who prefers to just reach out and flip it. A signature LED bar shows status at a glance, no app required. At $65, it's the layer that finally makes the wall part of the system. With the switch responding intelligently, what it's actually controlling deserves the same intelligence. Lighting is the one element every room depends on completely, and yet it's usually the least adaptive thing in it. One brightness, one color temperature, regardless of what's actually happening in the room. The LIFX SuperColor A19 was built to end that. It connects directly over Wi-Fi and Matter with no hub required, delivering a full spectrum of true color alongside tunable white light that shifts from a warm 1500K to a crisp 9000K, following the rhythm of a day rather than staying fixed. Paired with the presence sensor and switch already in place, it can transition automatically, energizing white in the morning, warm amber as evening settles in, color entirely when the moment calls for it, without anyone reaching for an app or a switch at all. At 1100 lumens, it's bright enough to be the primary light source in a room, not just an accent. For $49 for a 2-pack, it's the layer that finally makes a room's atmosphere feel like it's responding to life inside it. With light finally responsive, the next layer most homes get wrong entirely is temperature. Most thermostats are set once and then quietly ignored, heating or cooling a home on a fixed schedule that has nothing to do with whether anyone's actually there to feel it. The Nest Learning thermostat, now in its 4th generation, was built specifically to fix that gap. It's Matter and Thread native, meaning it doesn't operate as an isolated device in its own ecosystem. It becomes part of the same connected system as the presence sensor, the lights, and everything else already covering the home.
It learns a household's actual patterns over time, when people are typically home, when they're not, and adjusts automatically. But paired with real-time presence detection, it doesn't have to rely on a learned guess at all. It can respond to who's actually in the home right now. Its display shows the outdoor weather, energy history, and current status at a glance, and its sensors monitor humidity alongside temperature for a more accurate read on comfort than temperature alone ever provided. Starting from $249, it's the layer that turns climate control from a fixed setting into something that actually notices whether anyone's home to care. With the inside of the home finally responsive, the story extends to the door most people forget is even part of it.
The garage is one of the last places smart home upgrades tend to reach, mostly because retrofitting one has usually meant replacing the entire opener system. The THIRDREALITY Smart Garage Door Opener skips that entirely. A small Matter-certified controller that attaches to most existing openers in minutes, turning a door that used to require a physical remote into something that closes automatically the moment everyone's left, or sends a notification the instant it's left open by mistake. It joins the same connected system as everything else already covering this home. No separate app, no separate routine to remember. For anyone who's ever driven halfway to work wondering if the garage door actually closed, this answers that question permanently at $49.
Most smart locks solve convenience while quietly creating a new problem. A proprietary app, a battery that dies without warning, or a system that only works with one specific ecosystem. The TCL D2 Pro was built to avoid all three. It uses palm vein recognition, a form of biometric identification more secure than a fingerprint and impossible to replicate with a photo or a mold, alongside a traditional keypad and physical key as backup. Because it's Matter certified, it doesn't lock this home into TCL's own app to function. It joins the exact same connected system as the garage, the lights, and everything else already covering the property. One unified view instead of a separate lock app buried somewhere on a phone. Setup replaces an existing deadbolt in under 20 minutes. No rewiring, no professional installation required. Combined with the garage already covering one entry point, the front door becomes the second, unlocking automatically for the people who live there and staying locked for everyone else. At $129, it's a meaningfully more secure entry point that finally behaves like it belongs to the same home as everything else. With both entry points finally covered, the home still needs to actually see what's happening around it.
Most security cameras exist in their own closed world. A separate app, a separate subscription, a separate notification system that never quite lines up with the rest of the home. The TP-Link Tapo C2060 is one of the first cameras built from the ground up on the same Matter standard as everything else in this walkthrough, meaning what it sees can trigger the same automations as the lock, the lights, or the presence sensor without a workaround. It delivers sharp night vision, real-time motion alerts, and local storage without forcing a subscription to unlock basic functionality. It's not just a camera watching a room anymore, it's one more sensor contributing to the same coordinated system as everything else at $59. With the home now seeing and securing itself, what's left to protect is the damage that happens quietly, out of view.
Water rarely announces itself as a problem until it already is. A slow leak behind a wall, a valve left open in the yard, a schedule nobody remembered to set. The Aqara Valve Controller T1 retrofits directly onto an existing valve, indoors or outdoors, and paired with leak sensors at common failure points, shuts water off automatically the instant a leak is detected. Outdoors, that same control extends to scheduled watering, precise backyard irrigation on a set routine, or managing water supply efficiently for anything from a garden to livestock without a hose left running by mistake. Because it's Matter certified, that shutoff or schedule triggers the same connected system as everything else already covering this home. Starting from $62, it's a small, unglamorous upgrade quietly preventing some of the most expensive things that can happen to a property, inside or out.
Most people find out their energy bill went up without ever finding out why. No breakdown, no pattern, just a number that's higher than expected. The Emporia View 3 clips directly onto the home's electrical panel and tracks power use circuit by circuit, showing exactly which device is actually driving the bill, instead of leaving it a mystery. Because it's Matter compatible, that data doesn't sit locked in its own app. It becomes part of the same connected picture as the lights, the plug, the thermostat, and everything else already covering this home, informing automations instead of just displaying a number nobody checks. Installation takes about 20 minutes without an electrician for most panels. At $199, it turns an invisible monthly expense into something a home can actually see and respond to. With the home now aware of what it's spending, the next upgrade handles something it's been quietly ignoring the whole time.
Floor care has always been the chore that never actually finishes. Clean today, undone by tomorrow, repeated indefinitely. The Dreame X60 Max Ultra is where that finally changes. Not through another marginal improvement, but through a robot vacuum built to operate almost entirely without being asked. Dual self-cleaning mop pads scrub themselves clean between passes using hot water, so the machine never drags a dirty pad back across a floor it just cleaned. Its obstacle avoidance system uses AI-powered recognition to identify and steer around cables, shoes, and pet mess in real time, rather than blindly grinding into anything in its path. The base station empties itself, refills its own water tank, washes and dries its mop pads with heated air, and does it all automatically for up to 100 days before it needs a single moment of attention. Because it's Matter certified, its cleaning schedule doesn't exist in isolation either. It can respond to the presence sensor already covering this walkthrough, starting automatically once everyone's left, or pausing the moment the front door unlocks and someone walks back in. Suction reaches levels that used to require a corded upright, now delivered by something that navigates an entire home on its own and reports back only when something actually needs a decision. It's the kind of upgrade that doesn't just save time, it removes an entire category of chore from a person's mental list permanently. Starting at $1,699, it's the most significant single investment in this walkthrough, and the one that makes the house cleans itself something closer to literal than aspirational. Every device in this walkthrough is built to speak Matter, but something still has to be fluent in all of them at once, translating between Thread, Zigbee, Wi-Fi, and every other protocol quietly running in the background of a modern home. That's what the Homey Pro actually is. It's a local, privacy-first hub that unifies Matter, Thread, Zigbee, and dozens of other protocols into one system, meaning the presence sensor, the plug, the switch, the lights, the thermostat, the locks, the camera, the valve, the energy monitor, and the vacuum operate as one coordinated home instead of 11 separate apps competing for attention. Its automation engine builds genuinely complex routines based on time, presence, energy use, and the combined state of every connected device at once, processed locally rather than depending on a cloud server that might be slow or down or gone entirely if a company changes direction. There's no subscription required to unlock its core functionality, and no single point of failure that takes the whole home offline if one company's servers have a bad day. This is the piece that turns everything in this walkthrough into an actual home, the version that was always the promise of this technology in the first place. Starting from $426, it's the device that makes everything before it actually add up to one system.
This is what a complete ecosystem actually looks like. Not 12 gadgets working in isolation, but one home that senses who's in it, responds to what they need, and protects what matters, all without asking anyone to manage it manually. That's the real difference between a house full of smart products and an actual smart home. And it's a difference that's only become possible now that the hardware finally agrees on how to talk to each other. If you want to see where this system actually started, that video's linked in the description and right here on screen. If this changed how you're thinking about your own home, subscribe, because Gizmo Wonderland exists to keep finding the technology that quietly makes everyday life better, one upgrade at a time. Links to every single product on this list are waiting for you in the description below.